is me. Welcome, welcome to Winter's Rest Review. I don't know, he didn't really call all the names. We we decided to share something with you that has never been shown publicly before,
Not even to
and
me.
not even to Susie. So, something that I've offered clients before, but not with even kind of this level of detail because I don't, you don't want to overwhelm people. But if you are so inclined to take up the idea of a full winter's rest, we have outlined it for you in this lovely presentation. So we have documents. So if you like documents, you want to get the folder, not just one document. That would be so, so easy. No, we made how many? Five? Five documents. I think it's a five or
I
four.
mean, if you don't count the overview, so really go for the 5, but we might leave the overview in because it does have very, very helpful resources and reference. I mean, our notes, that is. I'm posting the link for the
The link.
folder of the Winter's Rest overview.
Yes. And if you decide to join us later on, then yeah, it'll still be available to you in the same place where you can just click on the link of the notes
How kind
for
is Monifa
this
for
book.
pulling back the curtain on her
Ah.
process?
So if you haven't visited us before in our Van Mail Coffee Verve+Vision Book Club page, then you may not know we have one. And there's actually plenty of videos that kind of we do little overviews of different books you read throughout the year. And then if you decide to join for the whole dollar, the book club, you have all the notes on the books that we have read all year. So we did one book a month this year, which evidently was ambitious. So we might pare it back. We'll have that conversation and let y'all know how it's going to look in 2025. But welcome, welcome. And yeah, and so there's so many resources here. And so yeah, I think in 2025 you may focus more on walking you through those resources and um, like anything new we pick up, maybe just kind of doing a huddle around that. So tell us what you think about that. If you have a little extra time to make a comment on the video, we'd appreciate that. Yay! So you ready to show 'em the goodies?
So ready. I'm so excited. We're planning to plan, friends.
We're
You won't be done
planning
with
to
planning by
plan.
the end of this meeting that we're having today, but you will have the foundation and the tools and the toolkit.
Yeah. What for me, and I think this may not be true for everybody, right? So like join in where you fit in type of thing when it's time for you to focus on this. But for me, like one of the things that calms me down the most is having a plan, right? Like if I have no idea, if like all the things are in the air or in my head, which might as well be air, like that's when I get kind of a little, oh my God, I don't know. I don't know. I will die. I don't know what's going on. And if I think that a task list is going to fix that, then that's usually the second kind of panic button because I know, like on a good day, maybe 4 items on a task list. That's recent. That's not. It used to be like if I can get the one thing done, then holy crap, look at me go. Um, so yeah, so I for me just having a list of like everything that I have to do. There's only certain times of the month that that's even an option. So I do pay attention to my menstrual cycle around that kind of thing and how I'm like if I'm in the right place. Um, but you can just feel into that. How, do I want to look at a whole list of things that I can't get done today? Probably not. It depends on the day, but most of the days are a no. Find the days that are a yes, because there's a day that you want to see everything in front of you and just know that you've taken account somewhere, you know? But what is the name of this session? Let's focus on that for a hot minute.
What is a winter's rest?
Rest. And it's rest. That is what it is. Rest. Like the operative word is to rest. So if the lists are stressing you out, the default mode is to rest, and whatever that looks like for you. So for me, that definition of rest means it is restorative. I feel more energy when I'm done with the thing than when I started. So like that can change for a lot of people. Sometimes that's meeting your friend for coffee. That can be um, getting in a corner and drinking your tea by yourself. That can look like going to sleep for a hot minute or taking a meditation break, which is now one of my preferred methods because it's so quick for me. So yeah, so that I want to get to that before I show you all the things, right? Because we can get bogged down in the details, and I don't want that to be what you're left with, right? Um, operative word is rest.
Right?
Remember
Don't
that.
default to our Western style of thinking, being like, okay, there's 5 documents and there's all of these boxes and I want to check them all off and what order and how and tell me and go. No, this is a choose your own adventure.
Choose
Choose
your own
your own
adventure.
restorative adventure.
Yes, yes, yes. So I'm going to do a quick overview. Like, if you haven't become a member of the book club, I think this is a great time to join before we change anything. If you notice, it's not hard. Like, if it sounds like it's something that is up for you. Like you want to be, you're working on mastering your midlife journey. You recognize yourself as a sovereign spirit and you want that to be modeled and the things you're doing monthly and daily in 2025. And maybe this is the place for you. And you can hang out with us for very little. You can just check us out and see how you feel about that, right? So yeah, that will restart at the end of January. We do take the winter's rest for Verve+Vision. So that's a good thing to know, right? And then we're gonna come on over to our Verve and Vision winter's rest. Oh, was I already in there? Yes, I was. All right, so we're gonna show you what it looks like when you clicked the link. Are you ready? Clicking the link. Ta-da! It might look a little different for you because but yeah, essentially this is the folder that has a few documents in it. And I started with the Winter's Rest document, and then Susie, um, and the planning. I did the planning. And then Susie went in and made it make sense for you guys. So thanks, Susie. Nicely, folks.
And you can view these documents, but we do encourage you to make a copy, save these in your own drive, and then modify them as you wish. Our logic does not have to be your logic. My logic is probably not Monifa's logic, but together we find our way through, and you
Yes,
can
we do.
too.
We're here for each other. So yeah, the um, Susie pointed out that the order matters. I'm one of those people like, I don't know, you can do it however you want. But there is a reason that I have it this order. Uh, and um, and while again everything looks kind of spiral or spherical in nature to me, like you know, it feels all like the same thing to me. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the thing that it looks like to everybody. So if you need kind of a linear, I start here, this is how you want to do that. The first thing to do is to set the time for the fun. So this is the making the space to rest. This is how I think of this. You make the space and then you let it be created. How much you allow that intention to be the seed of what you want to create. So if you want to have rest, then you have to make a space for it, right? And that looks like setting a time, And then however that time feels significant to you. So what reminds you of time? I don't have a great sense of time. So for me, I need it in my calendar. If it's not in my calendar, what? I was going to do something today? Oh shit. Yeah, I was going to rest. I forgot. I forgot I was resting today. Right?
I wasted the whole morning feeling guilty about moving slowly, and then I finally looked at my calendar and discovered I'm doing it right.
Exactly.
Set
It's
a
like,
reminder, today is your rest day.
I got
Rest
it.
begins now.
And then, right, you can, and you can waste your rest time by thinking you're procrastinating. And that's stressful on the body. Feeling out of alignment with what you are in intention of is stressful on the body. So uh, just commit to resting, and then you'll feel less stressed and you'll have more energy and you'll actually rest, and then you'll be ready to do something else. But if you're just flogging yourself the whole time, then that's not helpful. So that's important. So, like, to think about what gets in the way of setting those times out. She's got a nice list for you there. What do you have anything to add, my dear?
You
Not
know, I
forgetting
really
anything.
appreciated as we were going over this, and the reason why I felt these notes were important is because I'm a doer and I struggle with holding space and not filling it up. So I think even the time for meditation slash nothing, whatever, that pause that follows your restorative rest, your fun time, have some fun, work off some steam, and make a little time for meditation and doing nothing, still hold those chores and errands and commitments at bay. Don't fall to the temptation to fill that space. And I think too, I really appreciated Monifa when you were talking about thinking about fasting. Do you want to incorporate a type of fast of any sort? It could be dietary, it could be a media fast, it could be fill in the blank. So if there's something that you have wanted more of, or something that you recognize some patterns that you want to release, this is a wonderful time to also put your energy and attention into that as you're preparing to review.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, these are like actually the same thing. That's why I kind of talk about it like that. Like, so, like, again, going to have coffee with my friend is fun, then that's something that's on the table. It's restorative. If I just I'm tired, like I'm gonna go into meditation mode, right? I'm gonna do a little vocalizing and staring at walls. That's what I do. So yeah, and when I say nothing, I mean nothing. So like sometimes meditation, we have like all these protocols and visioning and journeying and blah, 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 and writing in the book and all the things. That's versions of meditation, yes. But what about if you didn't think of anything? We used to call that like being airheaded when we were younger, and it was a bad thing. I actually highly recommend it. I just do. Like, where else are we going to do it? We're always thinking too hard because of everything we're trying to figure out about our life. So, like, making a space where you don't have to figure it out, right? And then the review is what all the lists are for. The review and the planning the new year. So, we're doing the fun stuff and we're resting. So we are clear minded when we are looking at and reviewing. Um, the goal is the minimal amounts of judgment, not saying that what happened is wrong, just seeing what happened and seeing what we would like to shift or how we would like it to look different in the planning of the new year. Yeah. Yes. Am I missing anything?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And wanted to state too, we're looking at the overview and we'll probably click into some of these other documents, but it's rather circular. So if you're in one and there's a reference to another one, there's active links within the documents. You can toggle back and forth pretty easily.
And that's why it works for me because I never think of things um, as separate, right? I think of things of how they're related to each other. And so sometimes I'm thinking of even like a task document or a project document, like content or like an event I'm planning, or even an email or something I'm planning on doing on YouTube, right? Like, and I can't find it. Why can't? Because I've attached the perspective that I started with, and this actually the function is something different, or it's part of a whole of a thing, and it's just a portion of it. And then if I do it out of alignment with the rest of the things, then I've like scrapped a whole plan that I spent however long making, right? And so for me, I need these kind of multiple links back to the original thing, right? And then it helps me also figure out how does that fit in the landscape of everything that I want to do, right? So this is the master document of saying everything that we're doing in the review, and then the other documents, like once you have your own links, you can put them all in here, but she put them in the sections that are describing what we're doing as well. Should we continue on this one, Susie, or should we go to your other?
Let's take a look at the master document because it has the pretty picture.
Okay, good. That's
I
good.
like
So
pictures.
the pretty picture document. This,
Let's get pretty with it.
yes. I know what you. It's like this looks like nothing's going to happen. All right, so this, did I do it? Oh, we're back to the main folder. I guess this is useful to see, right? And then we're going to the master document here. Bum, 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 bum. Master document with the pretty picture.
It's below the fold. It's below the fold. Although I love that our master document begins at the end. So there's some disclaimers. This document is not to be completed first, but informed by your introspection. So we don't start at the end and then reverse engineer. I mean, there's a little bit of that, right? As you know, whatever works for you. But the purpose, mission, and vision, this isn't like step one, complete these. The master document is where you're going to keep coming back to with the insights that you have from your other documents and stages along the game. And we'll scroll slowly down, but at the end of the master document is a short list of links to all the other documents. So you can get to there from here. But I love this is like a little snapshot place for your year to bring the highlights, if you will.
To bring the highlights. So yeah, so they are in essence in order. So the review, these two things are what you at least want to kind of start working on before you really come back and say, okay, you know what, this is what the truth of how I'm aligned in my purpose looks like right now. And in this house, you know, where my face is, I don't know, where I be, purpose is who you be, right? So purpose is not necessarily your career or anything like that. It's literally what makes you you. It's your DNA, it's your experiences, it's your feelings. And so Susie has some really great, like, what were you saying about? She did an amazing planning thing as well. So um, the I am statements, like if you're doing affirmations, just say I, you know, I am. I like to say like things like I am beautiful, I am flow, I am,
Mm-hmm.
and then I also like to say like things I think of about myself, or I love to think of about myself is like I like to think of myself as elemental. So I am elemental, I am water, I am wind, right? So these things, whatever floats your freaking boat, is a sense of who you be. So the I am statements are really powerful in that section. Mission is about um, essentially what you like, how you serve. I really think of this as legacy. It's like, what do you want to, you know, your impact of your life to be? And this can be your life. It can also be your business. What is the mission of my business? And if you have a business, it probably should be a little bit of both. Right? Like you should have your personal statement and your business statement. And they, you know, Your purpose isn't directly your business. That's a whole other conversation. Vision. Vision is what is it like? And I like, some people say look, but for me it's feel. What does it feel like when I I am on purpose, on mission, right? What does that feel like? And so what the things that I feel may show up visually, but it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes I just feel it first. And that's okay. For a long time, I thought that just wasn't okay and wasn't good enough. And then I said, no, I'm perfect. And that's what's divine about me is that I feel it first, right? And so, whatever that is for you, right? Go in that direction. So, if a vision is makes more sense to you, go that way. All right. And then perfect day. This is also, again, you come back to this, right? This is after we have a sense of what we're working on and why we're working on it, what we want to see differently, how we want things to feel differently, right? It could be differently, right? It could be more of the same. More of this, please, is my Abraham Hicks quote from there. Uh, and then the focus. Yeah. So you want to talk about this part, Susie?
Sure. Danielle Laporte has a great book called The Desire Map, and she encourages you to choose 5 words resonating with the emotions that you want to feel more of, your highest desired emotions. And she encourages you to make these be kind of your guiding star or your compass points so that when you go out through the course of life, because we have a plan and then life serves things up and you have opportunities, you have choices to make, it provides a framework for you to check back to. Does saying yes to this help me feel more? Fill in the blank. So the pretty little picture is a lovely hodgepodge of positive emotions, by no means a comprehensive list, but you might find some inspiration here, or it might spark you to move in a different direction. And so that's really the word of the year or your highest desired emotions. If you land on a core list of those, you might narrow it to 5. If you can narrow it down to 3, that's fantastic. And what I really enjoyed too, as Monifa and I were talking about this, I hadn't thought about it, but it is super, super precious to me to engage with your partner and find out what is their words of the year or what is their vision of the year, their purpose, mission, and vision. Because if you understand what is their highest ideal and you have the clarity on what is your highest ideal, you can keep an eye out for both of these, for all of these opportunities. There's room at the table. And so I really love that encouragement too that Monifa includes here. So if that's relevant for you, if you have a partner, that can be a really special part of the process. If they're open to it and fluent in this speak, you can really bring them along the process with you. But if it's not, you might just, as Monifa was saying, ask them, what are you excited about this year? What are you looking forward? What would you like more of? And just kind of take that in and help them to support that vision too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that we like started including friends in. So last year we had some friends over and we all sat down. We talked about what an ideal year would look like and what our hopes and dreams for that year. And so it's very simple language. It wasn't, we're we're well in the self improvement or self personal whatever development game. Not everybody is, right? So it's just like a simple like what New Year's New Year's goals, right? What do you hope for this year? And then just talking about it, what it means to us, and it just plants that seed of like sharing what's heartfelt. Um, and it's really hard to lose track of that. If nothing else, it'll be very clear if you did lose track of that um, throughout the year, if you have that conversation. So with a friend, with somebody that that's meaningful to you, like as a partner, or somebody maybe even has that vision of you, like a really supportive grandparent or any kind of person like that. Just talking it out sometimes can be huge. Um, and it doesn't have to be like highly cerebral, which I think sometimes I get there a little bit too much. So
No, no.
did it shift to the other document?
Yes.
No? Yeah?
Yeah, we got our review document up. That's perfect.
Good. So this is the next one. It depends on what you have already, what you have to review, right? Because if you aren't used to taking notes or anything yet, then you might not have a lot. If you don't have anything, I do recommend some kind of calendar, right? Because even if you don't have a calendar, um, then what happens is that you're just looking at January and you're like, oh yeah, in January, yeah, it was cold. I was at my mom's at one point, or whatever it looks like. And then just having that vision of time for me might remind me of a few things that I want to take account of, right? And then for the rest of us, if you have 2 to 10 planners and you have a few places you write things down, then you're going to want to kind of pull out the things that you're like are closest to you, right? Like I maybe not everything. I like to at least list everything, and then if I feel like I want to delve into a space, then I do. Um, but for me, that's also my Evernote. So my Evernote is an app that you literally could just take random notes and tag them. And it's just perfect for me because I may need 5 versions of a tag or more for me to be able to find it at any given point in my thought process. I just I lose ideas because I have so many reference points for them, so I'll forget when I name something, right? So this I think is important for people that feel like they can't keep track of all their great ideas. So I feel like that feels like you're losing things, and it feels like I like to feel like I'm resourced and resourceful, and if I'm losing my resources, which are ideas, it's not a great feeling for me. But you can use Evernote, you can use Google Docs, you can use whatever works for you, right? And then if there's a place where you've been jotting things down and there's a pile, maybe we just go through the pile, and that helps us remember what we did throughout the year, right? So yeah, and so that's what I do. I go through my calendars, planners, I go through my notes in time order, and I go through docs that I created as well, because I'm like, oh wow, I forgot I worked for 2 days on this thing that I never implemented, and I just had to do this one last thing, and it would have been ready to go, right? Like this is like really easy ways to have quick starts for the new year. You just finish it up and send it out, right? Like instead of having to create something wholly new. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
Am
that
I
was such
missing
a great
anything?
idea when you were talking about reviewing the docs from the year because so many loose ends there. And it is a really fascinating chronology. So if you sort drive by date, I'm going to try that, see how well it works, and take a look back through those and see what's new. And like you said, Monifa, that's such a great point. It was nearly done. Something else pulled you away. You were this close to having something that's really great, that could be really helpful to people, that could really beautifully encapsulate what you're doing, what your vision is. Maybe your vision is already written out. It's just hanging out in the docs folder.
Right. Right.
Ta-da.
I mean, exactly. Like I hadn't looked at mine since last year when I pulled this up, and then I was like, oh wow. And then like, yeah, it's just a click away now, right? I click, I open up the document and it's right at the top. I just click on it and now I'm seeing I am da da da, I am da da da. Oh wow, no wonder I felt this is empowering, right? Um, so yeah, so that is a good way to do it. Um, and so yeah, I think that's it for this one. You think it's it?
Yeah, I also think too, so we included here on the review document, if you haven't done this process before, like me, and you haven't recorded your accomplishments, your celebrations from not only 24, but if you're going back through notes and calendars and you have that opportunity to look at 23, to look at 22, go ahead and record those here because then moving forward, you have it collected in one place. And so you can look back more easily to take stock of some of those open ideas that felt important to you if they come back around.
Absolutely. Like, and keeping a track of like what, um, so I was telling Susie that Sasha would have us do 50 celebrations for the year. And again, like I don't necessarily remember what there is to celebrate throughout the year, but if I go back to my calendar, I'd be like, oh yeah, I did that. That was pretty cool. Like I can celebrate that, right? You know, and so that's a good way to do celebrations too, if you're anything like me. Sometimes you're just like, I didn't do anything this year. All I did was suffer and struggle. Then check the calendar. Maybe you threw an amazing party for a family member or something cool, right? Um, and that was a beautiful moment worth remembering. I put anything worth remembering. So whenever I have, like, I read a ton of books, a ton of like videos, even, I put them in Evernote. And there sometimes I'm not going to go back to that note again. It's just the reality of the situation. But there's just one thing I want to just really take away. And it might, and sometimes it's just a one sentence thing. Sometimes it's a 4 point thing. Like there's, these are four things to think about when you're da 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 da. And I do repeat those. I have some from like 2020, 2021, that became part of what this is list is made up. So one of the things that was in those 4 points was my purpose, mission, and vision. I just realized that that's not something to come back to. That's something to lead with, right? Um, and so that's kind of how we start finding our touchstones to keep us in the realm of what we are wanting to create. Yeah. So yay. So that's our review document. So we're going back to our master now, which is the one that all the documents are in. So if you want to know, like, how do I do that? But like, yeah, so you just go back here. And then remember that the link that we gave you, you want to post it again in the chat just in case, Susie? Um, the link that we gave you, this is where it takes you, where all of these are accessible to you. Uh, this is my overview that we pulled all the rest of the documents from, and then Susie broke it down for us to make it clear. Okay, so right now we're just gonna, this is the master document. Like, where do I start? This would be the where do I start, right? Um, and then if you want to kind of know some of my madness or how I'm thinking about it, it's like the other section. We also made a couple of notes of what you want to focus on, which is the rest. The rest is what you want to focus on. Anyway, so the be and do in 2025 document. Let's go there.
It
Open,
makes me
open,
think of an old
open.
t-shirt. Do you remember this old t-shirt? I think I saw it in the Finger Hut catalog as a kid. To be is to do
I
is to be,
I don't.
by some
No.
philosophers, quoting this philosopher and that one, and then Dooby Dooby Doo by Frank Sinatra. I was so
I
now you
think
have a
I've
little
heard that.
earworm to go along with the be do doc.
Yes. Yes. Frank. Yeah. So so this is about like I how when I do start making my list, it's not so that it can be like what I haven't accomplished yet. It's really just so I can check back and see what was on my mind, right? And then is it still pertinent and what way? And that may become what I'm doing today based on is it still pertinent, right? And then not just time. Time can sometimes be a little bit of a liar. So not just what's urgent, right? Just what's most important. And
Hmm.
what I really love that question that we had from the book, the one thing, which is what is the one thing that I can do that makes everything else easier and or unnecessary? I think the only thing you should have on a daily task list is that. Like there should not be anything else on there. And then the other things will happen if they have to happen, and then like the urgent things. And then the other stuff is just I call icing. Like, that would be nice. If that got done, that would be nice. Um, so yeah, so the preparation is sometimes what we do to feel like we can accomplish the activities that we want to accomplish in 2025. So preparing. I do a lot of this stuff usually in January. It's usually after I've had some fun and rested, not really thinking about this stuff for a bit during my rest period. I'm like, how non-productive can it be? Like, what is the objective? Not what how much can I do? Nothing. How close can nothing can I do? That's my primary objective for a good portion. And then anytime I'm moving back into overwhelm when I'm going through any of this, I go back to how much can I do? Nothing. Um, and so, yeah, this is a good thing to do. Preparing time. So setting the time aside in your calendar, which you're going to look at our calendar list in a second. Okay. So putting that time in the calendar, that starts with your rest. So we're advocating starting with planning when you can or desire to rest. Again, like anything, I feel like in a calendar is mobile. Some people feel like it's static. In my opinion, no. My calendar is my reminder list of what I thought was important at one point. And then on that day, I'm thinking, okay, is that still important to me? Is it important enough to do today? Or is it something I'm going to reschedule? And that's how I think of it. If it's important enough to reschedule. And if it's not either of those, then it probably will come off the calendar and or the list. I just delete it. Just because it's there doesn't mean you have to do it. Like it's a farce. Just because it's in writing doesn't mean you have to, like, it's not a contract. I feel like that's what you treat it. Like it's just not. Um, this is a good place to put your fasting objectives. So like I put down a food plan if I've made one for my rest period, because the other objective is to feel better, right? Like what will give me more energy. So if I feel like changing my food and getting more stringent with my food or not eating will give me more energy, then I do that, right? I know it sounds weird, but people understand. The only one, if you've done it, you get it. If you haven't worked up to it yet, that's fine. Maybe it's a plan for this year. You're going to test out some fasting protocols. Um, Cleaning. So this, I think, is good. I think I'm not a huge cleaning person as far as house cleaning, but or even like my computer and stuff. I'm not great at it, right? If there's any time in which we focus on this during the year, and if it's not something you focus on for the rest of the year, this is the time to focus on it. Like cleaning it out, like slowing down enough where you just start realizing I don't need this anymore. Um, I need a place to put this. This is not functional where it is. Um, Susie could use this. Why do I have this? Right? Like whatever it is, it's good for your files on your computer because now you don't have to keep fighting with the thing that keeps coming up that says you have no more room. Oh my gosh, stop telling me that. I know.
Exactly. Or the desktop that looks more like a mosaic than whatever screensaver image is underneath of it all, right? Or the downloads folder that you haven't looked at in a year.
Yes,
Thank God for the search feature
absolutely.
to find files. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. And how useful is it if you have ADHD and you can't remember what you called it? Anyways, but the point is that this is something that happens in usually if we're getting overwhelmed about cleaning and organizing, it's because we have no organization process. Like, and so we'll talk about that more in January. Um, that's just something I've committed to. So I'm gonna have that conversation. And if you haven't joined in yet, there is the VIP day, um, and that's part of the Voicing Revision Summit package of Focal Alchemy. If you're curious about that, please let me know. I will get that to you. Or if you want to just do the VIP day, I'll figure out a way to make that happen. All right. Then, what else? What I miss? Categories. Oh, categories are just so that you have something to call stuff. Like that's all categories are. Like really, everything has to do with each other. Like if I didn't take a shower, I wouldn't have a relationship, right? Like if I didn't have if I didn't have a relationship, I probably wouldn't care about a career. I would be in a tree somewhere. Like they just tend to influence each other, right? Um, so it's just a place to put things, and that's why I like again to have multiple tags because it might like a project may mean this for my career and this for my business and this for my finances and this right for a purpose fulfilling desire, right? So depending on that, and again, we'll talk more about tagging and stuff in January with the VIP day, but that's why we have categories. All right, is
And I really loved as we were going over this in preparation for the meeting today, Monifa was explaining how, again, we go through all of these steps. And so the master document kind of leads with the end result, with the insights and clarity that you get from having done the whole process. And the links are all at the bottom of the document. So you're going to keep scrolling down and using all the links. Because as you review these categories, as you're cleaning up and freeing your brain space as well as the hard drive on your computer, you start to come back into touch with all of these things that were standouts along the way. And then Monifa said, and so I had to write it down, the goals arise from reviewing these categories. The goals become inevitable. After you review these priorities, you're like, oh, yes, this, and this lit me up, and now I remember that. That's where these goals are going to be coming from. So you're not starting from scratch and you're not creating the goals and then looking for the foundation, but it's like, oh, this is really juicy. This is feeling magnetic. This is pulling me forward. I can't wait to get started when it's rest over.
yeah. Because sometimes, like, especially like, well, and that's what happens, and that's what I love. Like, what I love about staring at walls and not thinking about anything is that there comes to a point where I just have to do something, right? Like, I get to a point where it's like I just want to see what would happen if I try out this idea real quick, right? Like if there's something about it, and a winter's rest, if done well, will do the exact same thing, right? Like if you rest for long enough, you're gonna be gnashing, you're gonna be ready to go, chomping at the bit to start your 2025, and it's going to be like who's going to stop you because you're going to be so ready to go. Sometimes when I look at some of the stuff that I've done, and especially with the hindsight of 2020, looking back on the year, and you realize, oh my god, that was brilliant, why didn't I finish that? Right, like it. And it's not just a, oh, like if we're not looking at it like, oh, I never finished anything with that judgment piece. Now it's like, ooh, I can't wait to finish that because I know now what that's going to do in a clearer way. I know how meaningful that is. I know how valuable that is. I know how much people are going to love it because they love this other thing that I did actually do, right? Like it's going to start clicking for you. And that's usually how I kind of get my nuggets, like my little intuitions of what really wants to be done for next year. What do I really want to learn? So some of this for me is learning. So you see this courses. Sometimes I want to like, oh wow, that's right, because I took that one course and then if I apply some of what I learned from that course to that thing I was working on, holy crap, right? Like that could be it, right? That could be the next thing that works for me. And so I also have a place for that. And I have wherever I put my course information, um, and it is in the do document for me, it has a link to the course with my access code. It's like with my name and my password or my email, my password, whatever it takes to get in there. How many times that we we like we just like, oh, I would love to get back to that, but I don't even know how, right? So this is my way. Like it's like, yeah, no, especially if I mean, the free stuff is good, y'all. Some of this free stuff, it's not always the things to pay for that end up on that list. A lot of times it's not the things that I paid for. It's like the free thing that will be the clincher, right? And so yeah, just putting it down somewhere so that you know how to find it when you're ready to go is again another really cool thing that is hard, like easy to miss maybe about what's cool about doing this at least once a year, right? So this is how we can do this more than once a year. What magic is this? You say. How would we come back to
What?
something more than once?
Planning is not only for Januaries? You mean life happens and things change and we can accommodate that? No. Tell me
No.
more.
This is like people are like, how do you get all of this stuff done? This is the magic behind getting things done. Not doing stuff. I promise you. Like if that was like I would not have a business if doing stuff was always required. My magic is planning. My planning. What?
Planning
My
the
magic
planning.
comes from planning my planning. How? I plan what I plan based on the seasons, right? And I don't know if I can never talk enough about this. This is why I have a whole course called Vocal Alchemy that is referential to this because there's nothing I can tell you in like 5 minutes that's going to help you understand the magnitude of what's happening here. It's essentially how you create your spell, right? How you create the thing that becomes the creation by solidifying the idea. And if you put that in a time and a space, so like literally writing it down and committing it to a time. This is why I swear by a calendar, right? The Google Calendar, I don't know how people live without the shit. I don't. If it wasn't that, it would be my planner. Like it would just not be digital, but I would still need it in that way. Um, because I have no internal sense of time. And so why not choose the one that never fails, right? Like the sun doesn't forget to come up. It's like, oh yeah, it's this day, right? My bad. Like that's not happening. So what can I most depend on? The days, the years. So going back to that. And so for me, that looks like knowing when the solstices are, knowing when the equinoxes are, knowing when the moons are. I don't actually know that offhand. This is why I have a calendar. Like otherwise I would forget, right? So yeah.
I like to look for the retrogrades. I like to plant my Mercury retrogrades at the top of the year. I don't live or die by it, but it's good to know.
Yeah, it's good to know. And so these things I build into my planners and my calendars. So when I say like there's times when I don't do anything. When I say I'm like I'm being literal. There's times that I literally review next to nothing. What happens anyways? This. This and my purpose, mission, vision. Those things and my words. My down report words. Those things are there. Like I mean, and honestly, it's really all you need. Like if I was to say, if I was to cut this down, I'd be like, just know when you're going to figure out what you're going to do, which is this sheet, and uh, know
And to plan.
why, know who you are, know your mission, know your vision, right? Like, and if you sit down long enough, it'll come to you. It's like the hardest part is sitting down long enough or forcing a, a, a space. Sometimes that means sitting in your car, right? Because now, like if somebody, I have to open the door for somebody to get here. Like it is my space. What's happening is what I want in the space. Like sometimes we just need those extra barriers. Um, Getting out into a field where nobody can hear you and screaming a little bit. I think sometimes we just need to get to a place where we can just be ourselves, right? And whatever that looks like for you, just find a space and do this. Put the spaces a time in your plan, not so that they can judge you when they come across and be like, did you do your planning? But to remember that you think it's important, right? And there have been times when I've missed so many planning times where I was just like, do I still think this is important? Why is it here? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the ultimate answer is hell yeah. Like I wouldn't have anything that I have if I didn't have this. Right? And that just reminds me. And then the next time, or I do it then, or the next time I sit down to do it, it's no longer like, oh, I got to do my planning. Right? It's like, oh yeah, this is important to me. I just forgot for a second. I'll be forgetting. That's why I have a calendar.
And I want to say too, if by some chance you're hanging out with us, but you're still new to the lunar or luteal planning process,
Yeah.
um, if you're looking for one book, Do Nothing by Kate Northrup is a great introduction to it. Her mother, Christiane Northrup, wrote Our Bodies Ourselves, so Kate is very different, but also pretty well enlightened by her mom. And all of the work by Stasha Washburn, who we absolutely love and adore, who trains coaches to help women entrepreneurs build their businesses in flow. They're great resources, and Monifa is one of her certified period coaches. So Monifa loves to wax poetic about our cycles, and it is so, so, so important to recognize we don't have to subscribe to this 24-hour masculine cycle because that's not how we are built.
It's not right. And the only reason I don't have that directly mentioned here is because, like, for those who don't have a cycle, right? So if you're sovereign spirit without a cycle, then lunar phases is also very vital. I mean, for
Mm-hmm.
me, they're vital with or without a cycle. So that's something that we all have. We all have the seasonal timing, which is inevitable and wise. Um, and so just like tuning into that will change your whole life. I promise. Like if you can tune into that and you'll start to notice what's natural and what's not natural. Those are kind of the beginning places of really understanding what's important to you and why it rarely has something to do with urgency, even though it feels like those things are so vital sometimes, but rarely, rarely, rarely. Um, so yeah, 5 days of darkness. I forgot to take that off. Usually, like so for me, that's a comedic principle. Uh, I guess maybe I wanted to explain a little bit because this is winter's rest and it's built around, for me, the solstice, right? And so why solstice? Shortest day of the year. Why do they call it that? Because it's the shortest period of sun during the year. But the the meaning of that within the Kemetic work is that it's also the strongest light of the year. It's actually when the sun is closest to the earth for our hemisphere. So it's about like having a greater a sense of light. And the sun in astrology is like who we are, who we think we are, right? And it says the closest to what you're going to get to the potency of like what that truth is for you is the feeling of the year. Now on the summer side, the same thing. There's like I think of the 5 days around solstice and the 5 days around winter. I mean summer solstice the same way, and it's the opposite. right? So it's the longest day of the year and the weakest sun. So sometimes it makes sense to, so in comedic work, I'll just put it that way, it's about the sky because now it's about the sun, was the sun's closest to the stars, right? So it's about how are we letting divinity inform who we are. And so, like, you can think of that as worship, you can think of that as just honoring what makes us us, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. But when we're focused on those things, we stop letting people that have other agendas, like the pharmaceutical industry, like run who we think we are and can be. This is why I think it's important. Like timing is important to me, right? Even though I have very little sense of it. So that's that factor. Anything I missed, Susie? We have
No, I
one
don't think
more.
so. We're down to the last
We have one
one.
more, guys, and then and if you have any questions, just let us know as we are wrapping it up. So this is where we put the big rocks, is what I was calling it in our planning meeting. The big rocks, right? So what are my big rocks? Are it's like special events, vacations with my family, friends, partner, right? Things that even if I don't know if I'm actually going to do yet, if it's a high desire, if it's like something that I don't know how I'm going to get it done, I put it in anyways because that's my highest intention. And then again, if it doesn't actually happen, I just shift it out of the calendar. That's fine. Okay. And my events, and for me, events can be so many different things. So if you're an artist, it can be the things that you do to show your work or share your work, right? If you're a business owner, it's usually the things that you're inviting people to for them to know more in-depth things about your business, right? Um, yeah, I think that's important. It's the only difference between events and vacations to me is just like who's there. Like, do I know these people or do I not know these people? Yeah. So you can find out what that is for you for the month. So month is a big rock. Like I don't want a whole month to go by and me not know what I've accomplished. That's just a personal desire for me. And if that is a personal desire for you, then that's a big rock. What is that month? How is it meaningful to your purpose, mission, and vision? Right? For the year is what we're doing now. So when next year comes around, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I have this marker. I'm supposed to be planning my rest period. How do I remember? Well, for 3 to 4 years, it was because it was on my calendar. Now it's part of what I do and who I be, right? But in the beginning, I needed somebody to tell me, oh yeah, that's coming up like soon. I need to prepare for that, right? I needed something to tell me ahead of time. Put that on the calendar,
And
right?
to not
That's
only prepare yourself, and
yeah.
secretly, I've been not so secretly, not at all secretly, I've been envious of Monifa's rest cycle for 4 years. I'm so excited that this year it's my turn too. See, we got Pat in
That's
the back.
like
Yes, yes, sisters. Um, to prepare yourself and to prepare the people who work with you, that you will be available to them later. You are taking some time for yourself. You are filling your cup. So all the more reason to put it on your calendar. So people can't book sessions, people can't book meetings. You might even put a reminder a month out. You're going to have to put an
a month
autoresponder on
out.
your
Yeah.
email.
You are so correct. That's like the funnest part of Winter's West for me is putting the autoresponder on that says I may or may not get back to you for a couple weeks, right? Um, and so yeah, so that is that. Like you get to tell people what is meaningful to you, and so part of that is communicating what's going to be happening. And that's true for fasting. That's true for anything that you're creating space for. If it's your health, this is for whatever you're doing. So, like a month ahead, I start talking about it. You see, like the panic mode come over, like so, like that's why you say it early because like my clients are like, what? How long? What's gonna be happening? Who gets to see you first, right? Like there's like things that click in, and for your people, it's okay. And then I start shutting it down early because again, that panic mode triggers people, right? So, like my actual cutoff date. I'm revealing things here I don't normally talk about. My actual cutoff date for public is the 18th. Like, if you contact me on the 18th, you're gonna get my away message. But that's because what happens is the universe is like, wait a minute. And people are like, I was planning to, blah, blah, blah. And then there's going to be something you're like, I can't not respond to this. Like, this is important to me, and what I say is important for my work and world, right? And so I'm just that 2 day grace period before the solstice to take care of anything that has to be taken care of, right? Without you know, really actually bleeding into my true time, right? Um, and then I feel fine about that because you've had 48 hours to get something in under wire. And then it's like, okay, if I don't see it, I don't see it. Sorry, not sorry.
Bye, Felicia.
Exactly that. Uh, and then if the and then to me, okay, so people like to organize by week because that's the Gregorian calendar and it makes sense for a lot of people. 7 days is not enough. I don't know who the F thought of that. It's not enough. It's not enough to prepare for a plan, to initiate a plan, and to see the results of a plan. It's just not. Not in my opinion. Maybe for other people. I don't know, but not me, right? So for me, I need at least what I call 10 days. It's built under the Kemetic understanding of a decan. And then the extra days are not extra. The extra days are preparation and planning for the right, the review and preparation and the planning for the next section when done well, right? Like I've told you, I miss this shit all the time. So, um, but yeah, like in a perfect world, right? And then again, it's just that reminder: is this still important to me? Yeah. If it is, this like maybe not this bi-weekly, maybe next bi-weekly is important to me, right? Um, and then yeah, and then again, if I don't do the whole thing, then I usually do some version of it. Like, oh yeah, let me check in. I think I'm on track. I already know what I want to do. I already know why. I already know, right? You might not have to go through the deep dive at all. You just need to be reminded to think about it. Um, so yeah, I think that is it pretty
There it is.
much.
The goals and calendar document. Make it
The
your
goals
own.
and
Check out the
document.
folder, save copies of the documents, make them your own. Keep it where
Yeah,
you can find
so
it next year and keep on revisiting,
keeping
reviewing, and
that.
building on these foundations.
Exactly. Remember, like these documents are primarily review documents. The rest period is actually to rest. That is the first priority of this time. So we talked about rest as fun and rest as nothingness, meditation, whatever that looks like for you, right? So um, so again, any overwhelm, just go back to the rest mode, and then that's perfect because that's what you're supposed to be doing. Okay. So yeah, that's how you do a winter's rest. Basically, do nothing until you can't wait to be inspired by your own life and purpose. So yeah, I'm just seeing if on my notes if I missed anything.
Are there any
Yeah.
questions at all?
Any questions at all? So yeah, this is our little folder. And then this is the one you want to start on. This is if you want to know our little notes around it. Okay?
We'll let you behind the curtains. We'll leave our overview document in the folder. The links will all be in the book club webpage information with the replay link, which is probably how you found this, but just to say, it's all going to be hanging out there nice and convenient. And we definitely want to hear how it goes. So share a comment too. Let us know how it is and let us know what you think about next year, bringing more experiential aspects into it instead of powering through a book every month. It might be a book club conversation and then digging into like actually working through some of those concepts together. Let us know how that feels because that's something that feels a little more juicy for us on this
Yeah.
side.
It feels good. I think gives us a little extra spaciousness to what may feel like a packed year already. Um, and yeah, and then we can do things together instead of trying to get things done by ourselves all the time, which may or may not be working for us.
We
Yeah,
can jump
it's
off of that
always
steam train.
inspiring, right, to do it together. I don't know. I like our little
Exactly.
co-working sessions. That's the thing I'm thinking about. We'll talk about that later.
No, that's great to share. And if you're on Facebook, we have our Conscious Co-working group. If you're not familiar with that group, we'd love for you to find us there. Conscious Co-working. Monifa and I are the admins on that. We get together every other Wednesday or whatever day works for us. We're taking a pause for Christmas. We'll be back 2 weeks after the Christmas Wednesday. So a week after the new year will be our next co-working session.
Yes.
Yeah,
So yeah.
because we're
So
already that
we're
close.
yeah, stick with us and we will continue to hold generous and graceful space for whatever you're willing and wanting to accomplish in the new year. Yay. Any questions? Any last words? Alrighty. So thank you so much, and we will see you guys later.
See you soon. Thank you all.